happiness and joy are also in it. To transcend mundane is to look down on the world from the height of a celestial, just like a person observing the activities of ants. To transcend mundane is to gradually distance oneself from worldly people and things, gradually get rid of the entanglement of worldly affairs. To transcend mundane is to stand in the position of Buddha, to see through the red dust, to see through life. To transcend mundane is to stand in the eternal space-time, to look at the changes in the instantaneous space-time. To get rid of a bit of vulgarity is to add a bit of chic. To reduce a bit of vulgarity is to add a bit of elegance. To reduce a bit of human heart is to add a bit of Buddha nature. Less worldly affairs add more leisure. One step away from the worldly world is one step closer to the fairyland. Once you are completely unworldly, you will become a celestial being. To be unworldly requires great wisdom and long-term practice. Fruits fall off when ripe. When water flows, a channel is formed. When the work is done, it will naturally succeed. If you force yourself to be unworldly or deliberately pretend to be unworldly, not only will you not be unworldly, but you will be more worldly. If you have the opportunity to climb a mountain once, to appreciate the infinite scenery of nature, or to go to the vast desert to feel the vastness of the world, or to go to the Gobi, the grassland, to enjoy the vastness of the world, or to go to the dense forest to experience the mystery and greatness of nature, you will understand the heroic feelings of being free from worldly troubles. If you have the opportunity to listen to a few more concerts or cultivate your habit of appreciating music over time, it can also help you transcend the worldly. If you have the chance to spend some time with high monks in temples, high masters in Taoist temples, hermits in mountains and fields, real musicians, literary masters, scientists, you can also get the feeling of being unworldly. The fragrance of books can also drive away vulgarity. 8. Engaging and disengaging with the world. Engaging with the world means immersing oneself in human society, deeply experiencing the daily life, tasting the various flavors of life, and feeling the intense emotions of love, hate, separation, and reunion. It involves enduring the torments of hope, desire, disappointment, and despair, the joy of success and acquisition, the humiliation and grief of being deceived, bullied, intimidated, exploited, enslaved, ruined, ridiculed, insulted, and beaten. It means enduring the agony of failure, bankruptcy, and desperate situations, the confusion of unclear direction and uncertain future, the anxiety of being debt-ridden and harassed by creditors, the frustration of being cheated in love, having money stolen, being betrayed by comrades or colleagues, and the resentment when good intentions are met with malice. It involves enduring the pain of chronic illness with no cure in sight, the frustration of being misunderstood and unfairly treated, the reflections on life when besieged by demands, critiques, extortion, kidnapping, and threats to safety after achieving fame, establishing a family, or acquiring wealth. It means feeling the sorrow of depending on others when destitute, the loneliness of being far from home and unable to visit family, and the bitterness of old age without filial piety from children. Engaging with the world means dealing with one's numerous mundane affairs from a materialistic perspective, standing on the foundation of science, reflecting upon human history, and adhering to all moral norms of human civilization. It involves understanding humans and human society and experiencing the journey of birth, aging, sickness, and death that every human must go through. Disengaging from the world means placing oneself in a state as if one has already passed away, observing the material world and human society, regardless of whether one is in favorable or adverse circumstances, regardless of how many people love you or hate you, regardless of how many people depend on you for survival or wish to see you perish, regardless of whether you perceive yourself as great and important or insignificant and trivial, regardless of whether you possess wealth spanning generations or have nothing at all. As long as you envision yourself as a soul that has already departed, you can disengage from the world, achieve transcendence, avoid being stuck in a rut, and see through the illusions of the mortal world, rising above the mundane. Disengaging from the world means not indulging in the material and spiritual pursuits of the human world. It involves viewing the human realm from the perspective of celestials and Buddhas, handling daily life from a non-material and anti-scientific standpoint, perceiving a millennium as a fleeting moment, and treating your ephemeral life with the vision of the negative universe. It means adhering to the moral laws of the heavenly kingdom, denying the value of the human life, and merging oneself into the infinite expanse of time and space and the universe. Furthermore, disengaging from the world means constantly contemplating how to become a celestial or a Buddha, how to serve as a servant of Allah, the ancestor of Buddha, the greatest creator. It involves pondering the destination of your soul after the death of the physical body and how to transform your transient, tangible life into an eternal, intangible existence. Finally, disengaging from the world means emulating figures like Laozi, who abandoned his homeland, riding a green ox out of Hangu Pass, like Shakyamuni, who left behind his wife and son to seek the true self and the truth of the universe, like Jesus, who refused to be a worldly king and chose to be crucified. To disengage from the world, you must first engage with it. Without experiencing the hardships of the human world, you cannot understand the heavens beyond. You cannot attain great wisdom. You cannot find the truth. You cannot comprehend the teachings of Life Genuine. A song aptly expresses this relationship. The little monk goes down the mountain to beg for alms. The old monk instructs again. The women out of the mountains are tigers. Quickly avoid them if encountering them. The old monk, having experienced the joys and sorrows of worldly relationships, likens women to man-eating tigers, knowing that attachment hinders the path to Buddhahood. But to the young monk, who has yet to engage with the world, the women seem charming and not like tigers at all. Despite repeated warnings, the tiger enters his heart, making it difficult to focus on his spiritual practice. Without engaging with the world, disengaging becomes difficult, unless you are born with Dharma eyes and Buddha eyes. Without engaging with the world, trying to disengage is like climbing without a ladder. Without refining, pure gold cannot be obtained. Without polishing, even the finest gem remains a raw stone. Engaging first and then disengaging is a shortcut. Attempting to disengage without engaging is a long journey. Only by enduring all 81 tribulations can you obtain the true scriptures. Anyone wishing to enter Life Genuine should not avoid worldly hardships, rush to retreat into the mountains, become a monk, or fear life's difficulties, honors, and insults. Calamity is blessing, blessing is calamity. Having is not having is having. The way of heaven is fair. As long as you steadfastly live in Life Genuine, you will eventually reach your ideal destination. 9. Embracing the ordinary and transcending the ordinary. Ordinary refers to the common, conventional, usual, normal, bland, mundane, and mediocre aspects of life. Examples include ordinary families, conventional thinking, usual attitudes, normal emotions, bland diets, mundane lives, mediocre lifestyles. To embrace the ordinary means to live a normal, unremarkable life with the mindset of an ordinary person, following conventional thoughts without seeking to stand out, be exceptional, or experience dramatic ups and downs. The ordinary is characterized by being small, insignificant, habitual, natural, and peaceful. Transcending the ordinary involves potential and superpowers hidden within the ordinary. It is resilience, fearlessness, and actions and thoughts that are not bound by established rules, traditions, or forms. It is free from worldly limitations. Though they may seem mediocre on the surface, these qualities conceal exceptional strength, spirit, and divine power. For example, consider the grass growing by the roadside, in rock crevices, or on the Gobi Desert. At first glance, it appears so delicate, insignificant, and easily uprooted. However, as long as there is an adequate amount of moisture and its roots are still anchored in the soil, it remains resilient. Despite the harsh summer heat, the freezing cold, the scorching sun, the wind and rain, being trampled by humans and animals, or being eaten by sheep and insects, it remains unyielding and grows fearlessly. Behind its seemingly weak and ordinary exterior, there lies an extraordinary energy that is invincible. People who have been leaders or bosses know that there are some subordinates who may seem ordinary, incapable, insignificant, and unnoticed. Yet, they possess an extraordinary quality. When your demands or orders are unreasonable, they simply will not obey you, and there's nothing you can do about it. These individuals neither create chaos nor deviate from the norm. You cannot crush them with power, you cannot sway them with money, and threats or enticements are of no avail against them. Even if a knife is held to their neck, they will not yield. They may appear weak and unable to withstand any blows, but in reality, they are like a mountain, immovable. You may destroy their physical body, but you cannot harm their spirit and soul in the slightest. They will not harm you, but if you attempt to harm them, you will ultimately end up hurting yourself, ending in utter defeat. This extraordinary energy is invisible and intangible, but the moment you touch it, you will feel its presence, and it will either instill fear or provide a sense of reliability and assurance. Extraordinary people may appear mediocre, but they are in fact close to divine beings. They may seem dull, but they actually possess high wisdom. At first glance, they might look like ordinary stones, but they are indeed precious gems. They may appear weak, but they are incredibly strong. They live in harmony with the world, not rushing for success, and they don't stand out because they embody the extraordinary within the ordinary. To transcend the ordinary, one must first embrace it. One must practice self-improvement and self-cultivation. One must adopt unconventional thinking and take unconventional actions. In the eyes of extraordinary people, what is considered normal is abnormal, and what is abnormal is normal. What is ordinary is extraordinary, and what is extraordinary is ordinary. For example, if someone insults you and you get angry or even retaliate, that is considered normal. But in the eyes of extraordinary people, this is abnormal. If you do not get angry but instead remain calm and indifferent, laughing it off, that is considered normal. Furthermore, those who strive every second, fight for every bit of profit, rack their brains, exhaust their energy throughout their lives, and finally achieve fame, establish themselves as professionals, build immortal merits, or leave a name in history, are considered extraordinary and worthy of respect and praise in the eyes of ordinary people. They are seen as role models worth learning from. However, in the eyes of extraordinary people, they are fools, thoroughly mundane people. Those who live a plain life, work at sunrise, rest at sunset, have no desire for fame and fortune, and enjoy life at all times, are the smart ones, the extraordinary ones. Extraordinary people, although physically living in the human world and leading ordinary lives every day, their souls have essentially transcended the mundane, and their mindset has reached a celestial state. If you are fortunate enough to meet an extraordinary person who has transcended the mundane, even if you just have a cup of tea with them or play a game of chess, even though it may not enable you to transcend the mundane and reach the thousand-year world, you can at least enjoy the elegance of transcending the ordinary and the charm of being free from vulgarity. 10. Valuing visualization. Visualization refers to a vivid, future-oriented image that forms in one's mind through unconscious mental activities, where you can envision yourself being part of that future scenario. Visualization belongs to the phenomenon of the negative universe, but after a few years or decades, when you find yourself in that scenario, the image becomes a reality in the material world. We can also say that visualization is an imagined illusion, but surprisingly, this illusion will materialize in the real world in the near future, becoming a real environment. Here are two examples. In 1980, when I was studying at the Zhangjiago Geological Technical School in Hebei, one Sunday evening, I sat by the railway tracks behind the school, looking at the smoking village. Suddenly, I envisioned a scene where I was teaching at a high school not far from a small town. The school had assigned me a two-room house with a fenced yard where I had grown vegetables like eggplants, tomatoes, cucumbers, beans, and peppers, and raised a few chickens. This vision appeared only once and then disappeared. I didn't dwell on it, but 8 years later, In 1988, one day while watering the vegetables in the backyard of my house at the number 2 middle school, 3 kilometers away from the Pinjiwanbo town in Zhangya, Gansu province, I suddenly recalled the vision from that evening in Zhangjiago. Upon comparison, the imagined scenario and the reality matched almost perfectly, as I was also raising a few chickens and had a fenced yard. In the rainy season of 1996, while I was having tea with the manager of the Gansu International Zimbabwe branch on the green lawn chairs by the swimming pool of Villa 48 in Harare, at that time, a black gardener named Jack was tidying up the garden nearby. He said, "It's strange. 8 years ago, when I was a teacher at a normal school, one day I imagined this scene. I had a villa in some African country with green lawns and a swimming pool. After swimming, I sat under a sun umbrella and a black servant in a white coat served me tea. Isn't today's scene exactly like my imagination?" My reaction was one of astonishment. Recalling my own fulfilled mental imagery, I realized that such phenomena are not accidental. I thought back to when I was 7 or 8 years old, enjoying standing at the edge of the fields at dusk, watching the beautiful sunset and imagining traveling to the farthest place where the sun sets, a place of perpetual spring, bird songs, and flowers, like a fairyland. 30 years later, I indeed came to Zimbabwe, the farthest west from my hometown, Yongjing County by the Yellow River. I've lived in a villa for several years, with green lawns in the front and back, and every morning I can see and hear a variety of birds catching insects and singing in the yard. The environment here is beautiful, the climate pleasant, with flowers blooming all year round. At Forest Road 10, where I lived, the yard had 64 different tree species, clearly turning my imagination into reality. Another example is when my child was in junior high, I told him to often consciously and unconsciously visualize himself attending university in the United States. 6 years later, he indeed got admitted to a university in the US with excellent grades. The transition from unconscious to conscious visualization was facilitated by the Bible. One early morning in 1996, while driving from Harare to Mutare at 3:30 a.m., I fell asleep at the wheel while driving at a speed of 165 kilometers per hour. When I woke up, I found that the car had collided with a large concrete milestone. The car was damaged, but I was unscathed. Miraculously, if the point of impact on the stone had been just a foot forward or backward, the car would have rolled down the slope, leading to dire consequences. My first thought was, God saved me. 3 days later, a kindly old couple, Jehovah's Witnesses, came to see me, saying they wanted to discuss the Bible with me. I welcomed them without hesitation. This marked the beginning of over 4 years of Bible study. As my studies deepened, unconscious mental images continued to emerge, depicting scenes from the 36-dimensional spaces, the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, the Earth universe, the negative universe, the workings of the Tao, the origins of Buddha, the times of Adam and Eve, the dinosaur era, Noah's era, and future times. It seemed as if time and space had disappeared, no longer existing. During the Christmas season of 2000, I arrived at the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa. Gazing at the vast blue horizon, I conceived the idea of life genuine. Visualization is not about fantasies, daydreams, or delusions. It is a realistic mental image that emerges naturally when you are in a serene, harmonious atmosphere, free from material desires. This mental image appears in a state of forgetting oneself and the surroundings. It will not appear when you are busy, worried, tired, or full of desires. Visualization may seem like an illusion, but it is a real scene that transcends time and space. With increased self-improvement and self-cultivation, it will undoubtedly appear in your mind. Once it does, it becomes your future, no matter how much you strive or struggle. The negative universe will inevitably lead you to the place in your visualization. 11. Becoming unconscious of the boundary between oneself and the external world. The term external world refers to the material world, while oneself refers to self-consciousness. Becoming unconscious of the boundary between oneself and the external world is a high-level spiritual state or an actual celestial realm that those with great wisdom and insight can reach. This state has three levels. Completion of intermediate self-improvement. At this level, one has understood the 36 dimensions of space and gained knowledge about the mutual dynamics of the positive and negative universes. One has understood the meaning, purpose, and value of life, recognizing that human life is just a phase in the transformation of the spiritual body. It becomes clear that all material pursuits are not only futile but also harmful. The source of all human suffering comes from self-consciousness. Desires, needs, and pursuits of the self, as well as the self's criteria for judging right or wrong, all lead to sadness, depression, heartbreak, anxiety, fear, misfortune, trouble, and pain. Only by letting go of material things, abandoning self-consciousness, and living in accordance with nature can one achieve the best life. Recognition of the material world. One realizes and sees that the entire material world is just an illusion or a facade of the non-material world. Life is but a fleeting moment. Though it has its beautiful aspects, it is ultimately too short. Striving and seeking material gains in this brief moment is utterly foolish. Undoubtedly, the final outcome of all possessions is having nothing. Only by completely abandoning the concept of materiality can one avoid being confused and bound by the surface phenomena of the material world. Only by forgetting the self can one follow the Tao, transcend time and space, unite with the Tao, achieve a celestial spiritual body, and enter eternal time and space. Understanding life's multilayered forms. One knows that the forms of life are multilayered. The visible forms perceived by humans are temporary, whereas the invisible forms are permanent. What humans consider illusory is actually real, and what they consider real is actually illusory. Viewing from different spatial dimensions reveals different forms of life. Only by using the thinking of gods and Buddhas, becoming unconscious of the boundary between oneself and the external world, and adopting unconventional thinking can one elevate life to a higher form. Becoming unconscious of the boundary between oneself and the external world is the highest level of intermediate self-improvement and the lowest level of advanced self-improvement. How to verify if one has reached the state of becoming unconscious of the boundary between oneself and the external world? When frequent wars and human suffering on earth do not affect you. When the death of a loved one brings no sadness. When losing all your possessions and facing bankruptcy leaves you unfazed. And when facing death brings no fear, you have reached the state of becoming unconscious of the boundary between oneself and the external world. At this point, you have little humanity left. When you feel completely comfortable, your mind extremely relaxed, flying through celestial realms you have never visited. When you don't know where you came from and have forgotten your past, even seeing your parents doesn't overly excite you. When you see no hunger, poverty or wealth, nobility or lowliness, disease, death, or private property. When you don't understand concepts like possession, construction, destruction, truth, beauty, goodness, falsehood, evil, ugliness, dignity, or safety, and can't distinguish between you, me, and them, and everything seems so beautiful, wonderful, unrestricted, and exhilarating. When you no longer feel the existence of time, with no distinction between day and night, you have reached the state of becoming unconscious of the boundary between oneself and the external world. In reality, your physical body has died, and you have arrived in the 1,000-year world or the 10,000-year world. At the point of becoming unconscious of the boundary between oneself and the external world, you have attained the nature of Buddha. The Cultivation Chapter. Xiefeng. Cultivation refers to recognition, exploration, and judgment, finding the correct methods and paths. Practice refers to selection, restraint, and persistence, restraining one's emotions and desires, adhering to what is right, and giving up what is wrong. The journey to transcending time and space of life genuine is divided into three levels of self-cultivation: elementary, intermediate, and advanced. Elementary cultivation. The purpose is to cultivate cognition by seeing through life, to discard illusions, return to simplicity and truth, develop human nature, sort out the chaos, find the way out of complexity, see the constant in the impermanent, and gradually transition from the muddled and chaotic ordinary life to the clear and distinct life of the virtuous, and thus achieve a state of individual health, wealth, and freedom. The elementary stage of cultivation also needs to do your best to complete your duty, laying the foundation for the intermediate stage of cultivation, which is to be free from cares and worries. Intermediate cultivation. The purpose is to cultivate the heart through calming the mind, stopping the mind, governing the mind, rectifying the mind, being humble, stabilizing the mind, purifying the mind, ending the worries of the heart, dispelling the heavy fog that shrouds the mind, making the mind transparent and clean, achieving the goal of transcending the secular, leaving the world, ending the worries of the heart, and being extraordinary, and laying the foundation for the advanced stage of cultivation, which is to cultivate nature. Advanced cultivation. The purpose is to cultivate nature through unconventional thinking, wild imagination, doing the opposite, denying life, and thus achieving the goal of walking with angels, celestials, and Buddhas, and entering the celestial realm. Nature refers to the original characteristics of the gene structure of humans designed by the greatest creator, which is called the root of wisdom in Buddhism, and the spirit and spirituality in the language of celestials. This nature is absolutely pure, without impurities. If this spirituality can be maintained, people will not get sick or die, and can live forever. However, due to the imperfect technology of the angels when they created according to the greatest creator's blueprint, a part of the impurities was mixed into human nature, leading to the imperfection of human beings. The less perfect human nature is, the more it develops towards the lower life space, and the more perfect human nature is, the more it develops towards the higher life space. Cultivating nature is to gradually remove the impurities mixed in the original nature through cultivation and restore the original characteristics given by the greatest creator. Before cultivation, I have excerpted some content from the Bible, Quran, Diamond Sutra, and Tao Te Ching to enlighten our wisdom and lay the psychological foundation for cultivation. Clouds rise and rain falls without intention. Clear wind and bright moon reveal the mystery. Look at the 100-foot tree reaching the sky. Bit by bit, it grows upward, referring to energy. Calm your mind and think carefully. In an instant, you can travel 100,000 miles. After 10 years of cultivation without enlightenment, once enlightened, you reach the jade pool. Excerpts from the Bible. God looks down from heaven on all mankind to see if there are any who understand, any who seek God. Psalm 53 verse 2. The mind governed by the flesh is death, but the mind governed by the Spirit is life and peace. Romans 8 verse 6. For physical training is of some value, but godliness has value for all things, holding promise for both the present life and the life to come. 1 Timothy 4 verse 8. Do not fret because of those who are evil or be envious of those who do wrong. For like the grass they will soon wither, like green plants they will soon die away. Psalm 37 verses 1 to 2. Excerpts from the Quran. You see the mountains and think them firmly fixed, but they shall pass away as the clouds pass away. Such is the artistry of God, who disposes of all things in perfect order, for he is well acquainted with all that you do. Surah 20, 27:88. Whoever desires the harvest of the hereafter, we increase for him in his harvest. And whoever desires the harvest of this world, we give him thereof, but there is not for him in the hereafter any share. Surah 25, 42:20. On the day when men will be like scattered moths, and the mountains will be like carded wool, then he whose balance of good deeds will be found heavy will be in a life of good pleasure and satisfaction. But he whose balance of good deeds will be found light will have his home in a bottomless pit. Surah 30, 101:4-9. O assembly of jinn and men, If you can pass beyond the zones of the heavens and the earth, pass ye. Not without authority shall ye be able to pass. Surah 27, 55:33. Excerpts from the Diamond Sutra. What is called Buddha Dharma is not Buddha Dharma. One should produce a pure mind, not dwelling on form, not dwelling on sound, smell, taste, touch, or dharma. One should produce a mind that does not dwell anywhere. Leaving all phenomena is called all Buddhas. The Tathagata's attainment of the Dharma is neither real nor unreal. The Diamond Sutra has inconceivable, immeasurable, boundless merits. If one is despised by others, it is due to one's past sins, which should lead to the evil path. Because one is despised in this life, the sins of the past life are eliminated, and one should attain Anattara Samyak Sambodhi, the highest, most enlightened, and most wise. All dharmas are Buddha Dharma. If a person says that the Tathagata has a dharma to speak, he slanders the Buddha and cannot understand what I say. By cultivating all good dharmas without self, person, sentient beings, or lifespan, one can attain the highest, most enlightened, and most wise. If one sees me by form, seeks me by sound, this person practices the wrong path and cannot see the Tathagata. Translation: those who have achieved the highest, most enlightened, and most wise cannot maintain the appearance of emptiness. Translation: to reach a state without a competitive heart, a fighting heart, this is the highest state of man, the arhat beyond the highest state of the desire realm. All conditioned dharmas are like dreams, illusions, bubbles, shadows, like dewdrops and a lightning flash. Contemplate them thus. Excerpts from the Tao Te Ching. Act without action, and there is nothing that is not governed. Put others before yourself, and you will be ahead. Put others outside yourself, and you will be preserved. The form of formlessness, the image of nothingness, this is called haziness. Meet it, and you will not see its head. Follow it, and you will not see its tail. There are things mixed together, born before heaven and earth, silent and void, standing alone without change, circulating without fail. It can be regarded as the mother of the world. I do not know its name, so I call it Tao, and I name it as great. Only those who do not contend, thus no one in the world can contend with them. Although there are glorious views, they dwell in transcendence. Good actions leave no trace, good words have no flaws, good calculations do not use counters, good closures have no key and cannot be opened, good knots have no rope and cannot be untied. Those who act will fail, those who hold will lose. Hold the great image, and the world will come. The Tao is always non-active, yet there is nothing it does not do. All things in the world are born of being, and being is born of non-being. The bright Tao seems dim, the advancing Tao seems to retreat, the smooth Tao seems rugged. The greatest straightness seems crooked, the greatest skill seems clumsy, the greatest eloquence seems tongue-tied. The greatest square has no corners, the greatest vessel is late in completion, the greatest sound has rare notes, the greatest image has no form, the Tao is hidden and has no name. The great Tao is very level, but people like to take shortcuts. Disaster is what fortune depends upon. Fortune is where disaster subdues. A tree as big as a man's embrace grows from a tiny sprout. A tower 9 stories high begins with a heap of earth. A journey of 1,000 miles starts under one's feet. The way of heaven has no favorites, it is always with the good man. The way of heaven benefits and does not harm. The way of the sage is to act but not to contend. Above, it associates with the Creator, and below, it associates with those who are outside life and death and have no beginning or end. Zhuangzi. Words of Xiefeng. All non-active laws, there is no way to explain them. Coming like thunder and lightning, leaving like a dream. No emptiness, no reality, no sound, no silence, no boundaries, no limits, no moves, no postures. Invisible, untouchable, powerful. Cannot be stolen, cannot be hidden, unpredictable. Everything is it, yet it is not everything. Comply with it. Everything goes smoothly, peace for 10,000 years. Resist it, full of bumps. Disaster extends to descendants. Elementary cultivation. Xiefeng. Natural non-action. Deal with the complex and ever-changing social affairs and personal life with the Taoist heart, Buddhist heart, and Christ heart. As long as you act naturally and without effort, there will be no obstacles, no stagnation. Whether it's moving forward, stopping, retreating, or taking a detour, it all depends on the various factors of the environment at that time and place. Do not force or go against the flow. Always maintain harmony and good relations with society, the masses, friends, and family, and nature. Because of non-action, you do not pursue anything, do not want to get anything. So there is no suffering, no trouble. You act accordingly, stop accordingly, create accordingly, and roam freely, showing a quality that is transcendent of the material world, yet does everything. If the masses need you to be the president, you will be the president. If society needs you to be a cleaner, you will be a cleaner. If you can become a billionaire, you will not refuse. If you are a farmer, you will willingly accept it. If your spouse wants to divorce, let them divorce. If your child can go to college, let them go. If they can't go to college, let them do something else. Today there are delicacies, just eat. Tomorrow there is only pickles, steamed buns, and plain water. And there is no resentment, melancholy, and comparison with others. Today there is a luxury villa, just live in it. Tomorrow you only live in a simple thatched house, and you are also content. People praise you, adore you, and there is no joy in your heart. If people scold you and belittle you, you will not feel resentment. In this way, all threats and temptations, defiance and poverty will not be able to bother you. Over time, you will have a clear mind and wisdom will be born. Just like a star, no matter where it orbits, it always shines and heats as usual. And like a diamond, no matter where it is set, it always refracts a colorful halo. Do not use schemes. The mind is like a clear day, clear and discernible, and wisdom is like a rolling river, never stagnant. All schemes are traps woven by the mind, and in the end, they trap oneself. The success of the scheme is beneficial to oneself in the short term on the surface, but in essence, it hurts oneself in the end. As long as the heart is bright and not stained with dust, there is no need to use schemes. All things can still go smoothly. Do not make promises. For people, life is impermanent. There are unexpected winds and clouds in the sky, and there are sudden blessings and misfortunes in people. There are unforeseen circumstances in the plan, and there are unreachable places in the force. You never know what will happen tomorrow. Before becoming a celestial, you cannot control the environment, manage yourself, predict the future, and the promised wish may not be realized. If the promise cannot be realized, you can only find an excuse to replace it. Excuses are lies, and lies can only deceive for a while, and will eventually be exposed. In this way, your promise becomes a shackle and becomes a mental burden, which is harmful to others and yourself. Do not rely on power. The burning power is like burning charcoal, which will eventually turn into ashes, and it is like wind and clouds, changing at any time. Power is the most unreliable and most dangerous backing. Once you rely on power, you will be involuntary, and you will lose the truth. Do not accept favors. Favor is the biggest debt in life. Favor is like a big mountain, always pressing on the heart. A drop of kindness should be repaid with a gushing spring. If you don't repay it, you are a villain. If you repay your favor with revenge, you are a beast. Once you receive someone's favor, you will never be able to repay it in your life. Your heart will not be calm, and you will not be able to have a free and easy life. No ambition. Act and speak according to the Tao every day. Rise at dawn, think, see, listen, and act according to the Tao, and rest at dusk. Cultivate yourself and perceive the Tao. Apart from the desire to become a celestial through the Tao, there are no other desires. As for striving for the country, making the nation strong, glorifying the ancestors, and for future generations, etc., these are all worldly thoughts of ordinary people and should not be imitated. Do not worry about tomorrow. Living only in the present moment, those who spend their lives preparing for their coffins and choosing their graves are severe pessimists. Living today worrying about tomorrow, they will have no joy or happiness in their lives. They are slaves to life. Tomorrow never ends. As long as people are alive, there is always another day. So there is no peace in life. Without peace, it's hard to go far, and without peace, it's hard to perceive the Tao. No thoughts of success or failure, no desire to gain or lose. If a person cannot have a healthy, free life, and ultimately cannot become a celestial, then your success and gains in life are failures and losses. On the contrary, if you finally become a celestial, then the failures and losses in life are successes and gains. Therefore, the common sense of success, failure, gain, and loss are just the standards of ordinary people. You just follow the Tao. Every word you say, every action you take, is like a river flowing downstream, clouds drifting with the wind. It is natural, it should be. Do not have the idea of gaining success. At this time, you have the Buddha nature and the Taoist heart. 10,000 laws return to the Tao, return to one. As long as you grasp one, you will have 9,999. What is one? One is the Holy Spirit, the Dharma, the Tao, the great law of non-action. It is the original appearance of things, the nature. It is the source, without any adornment, without any embellishment, and without the influence of human thoughts, emotions, or will. One is fruits fall off when ripe, a canal formed when water comes. One is without distinction of good and evil, right and wrong, beauty and ugliness, good and bad. One is like the sun in the sky. The moon sheds clear light, the cloud drops sweet dew, the sea gives birth to waves. One is without thoughts of success or failure, without desire to gain or lose. Once you grasp one, you will not judge all things and their phenomena with I. You will not be confused by the phenomena of things. You will know the source of things. You will know the Tathagata. You can know the past and future of things. You can get rid of the interference of the world and reach the other shore directly. Once you grasp one, you can become a celestial, become a Buddha. You can travel through time and space and gain eternity. Do not compare with others. Between people, just like their appearances, there is no absolute similarity. Not only are their innate nature, appearance, temperament, character, and wisdom different, but also their life paths are different. You can't walk the path of others. He is him. You are you. He has been promoted, made money, became an expert, went abroad, drove a high-end car. His wife wears gold and silver. His children go to prestigious universities. That is his business. If you compare, you will be endlessly troubled. If you imitate, you will lose yourself. So, in everything, not only should you not compare yourself with others, but you should also always ask yourself, who am I? Only in this way can you dispel the heavy fog and see the light of your true nature. Otherwise, you will live in vain for a lifetime and be drowned in the dust of the world. Seek lightness, not intensity. Eating light food does not hurt the spleen and stomach and can keep you healthy. So, do not drink strong tea, strong alcohol, strong coffee. Do not overeat. Even if it is sour, sweet, bitter, spicy, salty, it should also be light. Living lightly, your muscles and bones are happy. So, do not work for a long time, walk for a long time, squat for a long time, stand for a long time, lie down for a long time, stand for a long time, watch for a long time, listen for a long time, gaze for a long time, think for a long time. Do not seek luxury and comfort in life, only seek appropriateness. Friendship is understated. As the wise say, the friendship of a gentleman is as light as water. Friendships that are light last forever. while intense friendships can turn sour in an instant. Light friends supplement the heart. Intense friends hurt the heart. Seeking lightness in everything will reduce desires, and less desires will reduce troubles. Less troubles will allow you to calm down, and then you can gain wisdom, and then you can perceive the Tao and become a celestial. No leisure or busyness. Like the sun and the moon running, not fast or slow, not busy or idle. Get up and do things at sunrise and rest at sunset. Follow nature. Everything is natural. Everywhere is natural. In this way, all limbs and bones, the internal organs, blood, and meridians will run in order with everything in the universe. You will be healthy and long-lived and not sick. You will be peaceful and spiritual. The receiving ability and transmitting ability of your physiological field will be strong, and it will be easier to connect with the energy of the negative universe, laying the physiological foundation for transcending time and space and becoming a. Do not care about what's left behind. The desire for one's name to live forever, being condemned by posterity, or to become the role model of future generations, etc., are all worldly thoughts of ordinary people. They are the fetters and shackles of life. If you are obsessed with gaining fame, you won't be able to live a carefree and easy life. Just follow your path, and let the common folks comment as they please on what's left behind. No cleverness. Great wisdom appears foolish. The highest wisdom is formless. Displaying cleverness is, in fact, foolish. Cleverness is but a minor skill, a trick of the common folk. The more cleverness you possess, the less wisdom you have. Cleverness can lead to one's own downfall, thus, it's better not to be clever. Do not speak more than necessary. To those with high wisdom, your words are nonsense. To those with low wisdom, your words are profound and difficult to understand. To those with equal wisdom, your words are unnecessary. Once the words are spoken, they can easily be twisted by those who love to nitpick and slander you. Therefore, it is best not to speak more than necessary, so that you can avoid disputes.